Hello dear friend, welcome to another tutorial video. In this video I want to tell you the final rendering setting. Remember, to get a good rendering you must observe 4 points before rendering. These 4 points are good modeling, excellent lighting, correct framing and camera setting, and quality material. If you follow these 4 points well, along with a good rendering setting, you can get a real and excellent rendering. Before starting the training, please subscribe to my channel, and if you are satisfied with the video, be sure to like it. Thank you. Okay, let's go to the training. In addition, in this tutorial, not all the options and settings are told, and I will tell you only those that have a great impact on the rendering, and I will leave the rest of the setting to you. Okay, open the render setup. Okay, in this box you have 5 different tabs for your rendering. In this tutorial I want to tell you the most important setting I use in my rendering. Okay, tab 1 is a common tab. This tab have a different setting for size rendering, or animation rendering, or single rendering, or other stuff. The most important thing in this tab is output size. You can choose the size of render, and you can choose resolution to your render. For example, you can choose custom to manually number like this, okay, or you can choose other option to your size of rendering, like this or this, or other option. And this here you have 4 different options to you. You can choose one of them and rendering. For example, I choose this one, and the size of render is changed. Okay, or I can choose this one, and my rendering is different. Okay, for this part, this thing, I want to 26 to 600 and 100. Okay, like this, for example. And this here you have an images aspect. If you change this number, okay, you can change width and height. For example, image aspect I use 0.8 and enter. And if I lock this part, for example, I choose 5000, okay, and hit enter. The height is changed. Okay, and if I rendering, okay, this here can render. Okay, if you look it up, you can see this resolution, you choose it. Okay, if you change this number, you can change different resolution or different size of rendering. Okay, and you can choose this part, okay, to less than this resolution. For example, if I click here, test resolution, and click here, my resolution is half. Okay, and you can choose other option for this rendering. Okay, and if I turn it off, my rendering size will back. Okay, that's so easy, and this is the most important thing in the Common tab I told you. Next one, V-Ray tab. In this section, I will tell you the most important part. Image sampler. In V-Ray, an image sampler refers to an algorithm for calculating a pixel color based on the color with an "and" around it. Each pixel in rendering can have only one color. To get the color of a pixel, V-Ray calculated it based on the object material. Direct light streaking the object and indirect lighting in the scenes. But within a single pixel there might be multiple color, which may come from multiple objects whose edge intersect and the same pixel, or even difference in brightness on the same object due to change in object shape or fall off and or shadowing of light source. Type. Specific the image sampler type depending on the choice. An additional rollout opens up below the image sampler rollout with a specific setting or for that sampler type. Progressive samples the entire image and refine the detail over time. The progressive sample is similar to the bucket sample, but instead of rendering the image in bucket, it renders the entire image progressively in passes. The advantage of this sampler is that you can see an image very quickly and then let it refine for as long as necessary as additional passes are being computed. This is in contrast to the bucket image sampler, where the image is not completed until the final bucket is done. Mean shading rate. Control the number of rays shoot for anti-aliasing versus rays for other effects like glossy reflection, GI, and area shadows. This setting is especially useful with the progressive image sampler. Higher value means that less the time is spent on AA and more effort is put in the sampling of shading effect. For a better result, you can go and changing Progressive Image Sampler tab. Mean subdevice. Control the minimum number of samples that each pixel in the image receives. The actual number of the samples is the square of the subdevice. Max subdevice. Control the maximum number of samples that each pixel in the image receives. The actual number of the sample is the square of the subdevice. Max render time. The maximum render time in minutes. When this number of minutes is reached, the render stops. This is the render time for the whole frame. It includes any GI pre-pass like light cache, irradiance map. If this 0.0, the render is not limited in time. Noise threshold. The desired noise level in the image. If this 0.0, the entire image is sampled uniformly until either the max subdevice value is reached or the max render time limit is reached. Array bundle size, useful for a distributed rendering in order to control the size of the chunk of work that is handed to each matching. When using distributed rendering, higher value may help to utilize CPU on the rendering server better. Bucket takes a variable number of samples per pixel depending on the difference in the intensity of the pixel. The black square represents the pixel of the image, while the dots represent the individual samples. In the first pass, V-Ray always places the minimum number of samples determined by the mean subdevice parameter. Then, the color of sample is compared and more are added where needed in the following passes. I suggest that you use progressive mode for a rendering test and bucket mode for a final rendering. Bucket. For a better result in this tab, you can go and changing bucket image sampler tab. Mean subdevice. Determine the minimum number of samples taken for each pixel. You will rarely need to set this to more than one. Expect if you have very thin lines that are not captured correctly, or fast-moving object if you use motion blur. The actual number of pixels is the square of this number. 4 subdevices produce 16 samples per pixel. Max subdevice. Determine the maximum number of samples for a pixel. The actual maximum number of samples is the square of this number. 4 subdevices produce a maximum of 16 samples. Note that V-Ray may take less than the maximum number of samples if the difference in intensity of the neighboring pixel is small enough. Bucket width. Determine the maximum region width in pixel. Bucket height. Determine the maximum region height in pixel. Image filters. Image filters control the transition between the color of adjacent pixels by blurring or sharpening them. The image of V-Ray filter actually reduces the effect of moire and other artifice by blurring, especially at the edge and point where the light has hit the edge and surface with great intensity. Adjacent pixels with greater color contrast are rendered in. In addition, by sharpening adjacent pixels, they greatly help to show texture with the many and small details. Also, choosing the right filter image in animation reduces problems such as flickering during playback. Color mapping. Color mapping is actually an internal process of V-Ray to color pixels that have higher or lower color values for computer display. In fact, there is an effect that determines the display of the darkest and brightest color displayed on our computer monitor. You can control the gamma and contrast of the scenes by using this option and change its type, and by using multiply number and born value you can control how much contrast you have. Camera. In this section you can control the camera using this option. The most important part of this section is auto exposure and auto white balance. By activating these two options, you can control the light of your scenes automatically, or you can change the light of the scenes manually in the camera setting. Auto exposure automatically determines an appropriate exposure value for the render. It requires light cache in single frame mode to be set as a secondary GI engine. Auto white balance automatically determines a suitable white balance value for the image. It requires light cache in single frame mode to be set as a secondary GI engine. GI tab. In this section, you must activate the Enable GI option to be able to use the GI setting. Primary engine. Specify the method to be used for primary diffuse bounces. In this section, you have three options that can be used for rendering, each of which has its own characteristic. Select the irradiance map and go down to the irradiance map setting. Current preset. A list of several predefined settings for some of the irradiance map parameters. You can use this to quickly set the color, normal, and distance threshold, as well as the minimum or maximum rate. The following presets are available: very low, low, medium, and other option. Or you can change the parameter by manually. I'll show you how does it work. Brute force. The brute force method for computing global illumination recomputed the GI values for every single shaded point separately and independently from other points. This method is very accurate, especially if you have many small details in the scenes. Bounces. Control the number of diffuse light bounces. Since V-Ray 3, a higher number of bounces can be computed efficiently without slowing the render down significantly. This option is only available when brute force is set for both primary and secondary engine. To speed up brute force GI, you can use a faster method like the light cache for approximating secondary GI bounces while using the brute force method for the primary bounces. Light cache. This section controls and finds tones various aspects of the light cache. The light cache rollout appears only when the light cache method is selected as a primary engine or secondary engine on the global illumination rollout. Preset. Offer default light cache setting for either still or animation rendering. Subdevice. Determines how many paths are traced from the camera. The actual number of paths is the square of the subdevice. The default 100 subdevice means the 1 million paths are traced from the camera. Sample size. Control the size of the individual light cache sample. A better result to every since you can use brute force for primary engine and light cache for secondary engine. Render element. In this section, you can help improve your rendering by adding functional element. You can add different elements, but here I will introduce some element that I use myself. Okay guys, these were the settings that I used for rendering and I got very good result from them. I hope you can use this setting and get a result. If you like this video, be sure to like it and subscribe to my channel. Goodbye.